Good evening. Although the clock on here says it's 6:54, it is in fact a couple of minutes after 7, I think, so we're a bit late. Welcome. I feel a bit like Henry V, making his speech about we precious few. Here we are, but I'm assured that we're quorate. So that's okay. Who have we got? Councillor Thorne, but we can't see him. Okay, good. Welcome to him remotely then. Right, can we have apologies for absence, please?
Thank you, Chair. We've received apologies of absence from Councillor Sean MacDonald, who is substituted by Councillor Julie Hode this evening.
Right, and welcome to her. Hope she doesn't find it too difficult an experience. Okay, the minutes of the previous meeting. Does anybody have any issues with them, or am I able to sign them? Good. Okay. And I omitted to welcome the Chief Executive to our discussions this evening, so or interim Chief Executive. Should get that right. Anyway, welcome. Hope you don't get too scared off us either. Fine. Let's get straight on then to the carers policy. Sally, do you want to say a few words about that, please?
Thank you so much, Chair. So the carers policy comes in a bit of a suite here with the family-friendly policy and the special leave policy. We introduced the carers policy some months ago, and one of the things we said at the time was that we had introduced some carers leave, but we wanted to introduce it as paid carers leave. We needed to bring it back with the family-friendly policy and the special leave policy to make sure all three policies were consistent with each other, which is why they're all appearing together. We have taken the opportunity, as well as adding paid carers leave, we've also added in the special leave policy leave for fertility treatment and leave for miscarriage, which you'll recall is an important part of our people strategy aimed at recruitment and retention of people, and we wanted to introduce that as an additional benefit. So what I'd ask the committee to do is probably look at all three policies together. I am aware that there are a few typos, and Chair, thank you so much for your feedback on that. If any typos at all, just email them to me and I will go through and make sure that they are sorted.
Good.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Does anybody have any questions, queries, comments? Good. There's nobody shouting from remotely, so I assume that's okay. We're asked to resolve that the revised carers policy as set out at Annex A to this report be adopted. Are we so agreed? Good, thank you. That takes us to the next one, which I believe is aggression.
Yes.
Or is it?
Do you need to resolve? Sorry. Do you need to resolve all the policies? Because I think you've just done the carers, and you probably need to look at all three.
If possible, just
Yeah, we've just done the carers. We need to go on to family friendly, is it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sally.
So the introduction stays as was. So just happy to hear any comments or thoughts on that policy.
Any comments?
Thank you. Nothing really other than to say that these three policies, we can consider them together, can't we, Sally? Because it's the same adjustment to all three. So we probably can take all three resolutions in one hit, David.
Okay. I might get shouted at if I do that.
I'm happy to do that. And then
Okay, fine. So in that case, we'll take the leave and special leave policy as well. Have you got anything to add, Sally? Any
No, thank you,
comments
Chair.
on that? No. So can we then resolve that both of those policies, as set out in the annexes, be adopted? We agreed? Okay, good. Let it be so then, and we shall move on immediately to the aggression at work policy. Sally.
Thank you so much, Chair. So the aggression at work policy, I'm very glad to see the Chief Executive here because he was enormously instrumental in working with me on this one. So thank you for being here. This is a new policy for us and it specifically looks at supporting members of staff who have encountered aggression at work from external sources, in other words, from residents, customers, site visits, that sort of thing. And one of the things that is missing from this policy is the link to the dignity and respect at work policy, which deals with difficult situations encountered with other members of staff. So one of the things that Chair, we agreed when we met in our pre-meet is that I am going to add a line into the aggression at work policy to state that it should be read in conjunction with the dignity and respect at work policy, which incidentally is also about to be reviewed. The other thing that I just wanted the committee to be aware of with this particular new policy is that we are developing an implementation plan to work alongside the policy. That hasn't appeared here because it's not quite complete, but the idea is that when this policy is agreed by committee, we will then train all managers on the policy. We've got a manager's day booked just to introduce the policy in a couple of weeks' time, and we're going to, alongside training, we're going to do a communications plan as well so that members of staff know how to do it. We've also introduced a really simple form for reporting incidents of aggression at work, and that will be implemented as part of the implementation plan, if that makes sense. So I just wanted the committee to be aware that we're not just going to publish it on the website and hope that people just know by osmosis. We are going to train people on it. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think this is obviously a very important policy, and the way you've described that, tying in with the other policies, and in particular the new procedure that you're going to introduce, so that people fully understand where they stand in respect of all of this sort of thing. I think that will tie it off very, very, very well. Any comments? Okay, thank you. We are advised to resolve that the aggression at work policy is set out Annex A to this report be adopted. Is that okay? Let it be so then. Thank you. That, I think, brings the policies, the new policies, which are, as I say, very important to an end, and we move on to the pay policy annual review at item 8. There was a meeting this afternoon to kick this process off, and Sally, perhaps you will introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. So the pay statement is something that we are legally obliged to publish as a council under sections 38 to 43 of the Localism Act. It's something that we must take to full council each year. And what the Act basically says is that we have to publish the highest salary we pay and compare it with the lowest salaries that we pay, and kind of calculate what that looks like. We do put more than that in our pay statement, so we do put quite a lot of detail about how and why we pay as we do, but that is an important part of our transparency and fairness agenda, to be open about that, the way we calculate our pay. The adjustments this year are relatively minor. We've just updated a few details to make sure they're up to date, but happy to take any questions on the pay statement. It is due, by the way, this committee doesn't sign the pay statement off, I should say. It travels on to full council for final sign-off. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so we are recommending this to full council in due course. Any questions, comments? No? Good. Okay. This is going extremely well. The recommendation is to resolve that the pay policy statement policy, with any agreed amendments, which there are none, is recommended to full council for adoption by the council. Are we so agreed? Thank you. Thank you. And then we move to the last item on the agenda, I believe, apart from the work programme, which is the future governance of the Employment Committee. Sally.
Thank you, Chair. So this paper has come about after quite a lot of feedback from a number of councillors around the work that this committee does. The work that this committee does at the moment is that policies all go to our joint staff group, and that joint staff group is effectively an engagement forum. It is not a decision-making committee. So the joint staff group, staff representatives and councillors both give feedback on the policies. We make a number of amendments following that feedback, and then they come here for sign-off. And that is, I would suggest, the majority of the time that we take as a committee. However, the committee does have a lot of other jobs that it does in its terms of reference. For example, it looks at chief executive pay, and we have appointment subcommittees that interview senior officers, and so on and so forth. One of the bits of feedback that has come about quite considerably is that the committee would like to focus more on the strategic people requirements, things like the gender pay gap, things like the workforce profile, and to focus more on inclusion. And this certainly sits well with our overarching corporate strategy. So the proposal is that all the policy amendments, like the ones we have just looked at, that we no longer look at that as a committee. There is another route of sign-off, and that route is with my, I want to call you my learned friend on my left, but
just friend.
With the head of paid service, which is a statutory role, which does have the ability to sign off those amended policies. The policies that would still come here are new policies, such as the aggression at work policy that we saw tonight, and any policy that had direct resource implications, so policies that maybe suggested additional days of leave or something like that. So, so the proposal is that policy amendments for existing policies no longer come here, that they're signed off by the head of paid service, but policies that are new, that directly affect the resources of the council, no longer come here. We would still look at pay negotiations, we would still do new policies, and we would use the additional time to look at those more strategic documents, such as the workforce profile, the gender pay gap, and so on. Things like the evaluation of the people strategy at the moment doesn't have to come here, and I really think it should. So that it's just to really adjust the work balance a little bit. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Yes. The only point that I made about this change is that the committee, this committee, is informed of the decisions made by the head of paid service, just on a noting basis, so that we can keep up with those issues, which you said was fine. So yeah.
Yes, so sorry, Chair. I had written down, and I meant to include, and I totally forgot, that you had asked me for a policy overview, so one of the things I would do, if the committee were in agreement, was that I would go and rewrite the work plan with an annual policy overview in it, and every meeting I would confirm where we were with that policy overview, which policies had been agreed and which were still in process, sort of thing.
Fine, that meets the points which I raised perfectly. Any other comments?
So I'm just subbing. This is my first time here, so apologies because I I don't really know how this committee works very much. Am I right in understanding that there is a process whereby all the personnel, HR, people type policies are reviewed on a sort of regular schedule on a rolling basis, and do they all come up for review once a year, once every 2 years, or what's the timeline to get through everything?
Sally?
Well, Councillor Hode, that is an excellent question. It really, genuinely is a question, an excellent question, and one that I have also been asking myself, because at the moment the policy programme seems to be, I won't say random, but there doesn't seem to be an underpinning rationale. So one of the things that I'm going to be asking the new HR manager to do is to review all the policies, when they were last reviewed, when they're next reviewed, and what I want to do is bring that as a strategic document to this committee. It won't be the October committee, but I am going to aim for the November committee. Now, I've said it publicly, it must be so. So yes, that's the intention, is that we put exactly that programme in place, and that then I can report on it regularly and say, kind of like, here we are, this is what we've done, this is what's in progress, kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. And it's probably worth just making the point, while we're on the subject, that the new HR manager begins early September?
September the 23rd.
Late September, in fact. So the November meeting will fit that quite well, I think. Good. We are asked, and I'm not going to read all this out because there's an awful lot of it, we're asked to resolve to advise the governance working group to do various things which are listed in little 1, A through E, and then little 2, which I'm sure you all read avidly. Are we so resolved? Okay, thank you. So finally, on to the work programme. Once again, Sally.
So the work programme obviously is written as it was, and it does need adjusting. So what I would propose, if it's okay with the chair, is that I rewrite the work programme and circulate it to the committee in the next few weeks, if that's okay with you.
Anybody have a problem with that? No? Good. Okay, that's fine. It's worth making the point that a lot of these things change on the run, which is why this is necessary. In particular, the next meeting, for example, is going to be on October the 10th. Is going to be devoted exclusively to the question of the pay review. And we've got no idea how that situation is going to develop between now and then. So that's one of the reasons why the work programme has to be fluid by necessity. Good. So we're agreed on that. I believe that there being no further business, we can now close the meeting. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you.